I mean, sure. So I'm Michelle. I've been with Clear now for about 2 years and, well, 2 months now, I believe. Time flies when you're having fun. And we've kind of joined in this partnership with Halton Chamber to provide simplified customs clearance declarations with Richard Bartlett, who is far more experienced than I am, all things trade related, who will have a moment to introduce himself just in a bit. Just real quick about this slide is we've partnered to make sure that any customs clearance issues can be done through the platform and bringing it into the digital age. We are originally from California, Silicon Valley, using artificial intelligence and machine learning to kind of simplify and digitize the whole process, and now brought it over to the UK since December to kind of cope with all Brexit and documentation related matters. So we're very excited to be here today and be launching this partnership, and very excited to have Richard on board as well, who's been brilliant to work with. And apart from now being a close friend, we've been working closely together for a while, and he is my go-to person, all things trade related. So without further ado, I'll let him introduce himself as well. Richard.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Some people already know me. Obviously, I work very closely with Jane and Rachel and the team doing the courses, international courses. And I was involved in the very early stage with my good friend who's on today, John Evans. John Evans contacted me a few years ago and asked me to have a look at something that he'd received from the US, and it was Clear Now. And I was actually bowled over by what it could do. And certainly what we're going to talk about today is I truly believe this is the customs. I do most of the training for most brokers, as people know, and most of the platforms. I deliver most of the platform training, not just for HMRC, but many of the platforms that are out there, Descartes, Dime, CargoWise, all the different ones, and also the Irish customs. I don't believe there's anything as good as what Clear Now is going to offer. You might see it as a visible, it's a customs declaration. It does your exports, imports. It does far more than that. And we'll certainly see it's probably, I would say with Clear Now, it's probably too advanced for its time in the UK. But what you'll see in the next few months is the real benefits of Clear Now. We're just going to do you a little presentation, just give you an idea of how the platform works, why it's so important, and why, as an exporter and importer, the implications of understanding the real criticalness of how an export and import declaration is so important to your business from a compliance. So we'll talk a bit about that. My background, 20 years running my own logistics business, and in the last 6-7 years, I've been an international trade advisor with obviously many different chambers, including Halton, and my good friends there, and also for the Institute of Exports and other ICC Academy, and John at Santander. I'm a trainer for the Santander Bank as well. And now, obviously, Clear Now, I do some advisory with Clear Now. So we're going to give you a little demonstration. Any questions you've got from compliance, please ask today. That's what it's for. Yeah. And we'll try and run you through that. We've got some terrific courses that we're lining up for the later in this year, myself and Jane and Rachel and the team, which we think will really fit into also how Clear Now fits into that. So I'll let Michelle go through the slides.
Yeah, no, so just a little bit about, we're in the news, so we've been quite media heavy this spring, both on Ian King Live, and we've been on Forbes and the Andrew Pierce Show and The Sun. So just to show you that we've been portrayed in several places in the media, in the UK media, which has been great, that they've highlighted how we're solving and helping solve a lot of struggling businesses, or just businesses that want to change things up and take advantage of some of the challenges that Brexit have presented to kind of move over to the digital age and just kind of tackle with that as if they started working this year. So this slide just kind of illustrates that. And then and then we're just kind of going to dive into, now the UK has left the EU. We've all known that. We're past that. Where does that leave us, and what are we doing? And Richard's going to dive into what does that mean from a customs declaration perspective. And then in a couple of slides, I'll walk you through the platform and a demonstration of that.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. Yeah, I mean, one thing that we've certainly found, and obviously as a trade advisor, we saw Brexit coming. I don't think anybody's really appreciated how it would envisage and how it would perform in the first few months. And I would say for exporters in the UK, it's been a huge challenge. I would say for importers, it's not been so much a huge challenge because of the the simplified procedure and the transition that the UK introduced. But unfortunately, as an exporter, you've had many challenges. And once we start going through the platform, it will give you a really good indication of it. Not, you know, everybody can do an export declaration. Everybody can do an import declaration via broker. We'll show you what ClearNow do and why Jane and Rachel was really excited about teaming up with ClearNow, because it does a lot more than that. And we'll talk about that. We anticipate 52 million declarations that would be produced or go through the chief system, which is the old system that when you do a declaration import-export, it's the system that allows the goods to get the green light to be able to leave the UK or enter the UK. And we envisage that will go to around about 250 million within the next year. So we're seeing a huge uptake on customs declaration and lots of issues there. And I'll talk about that as I go through the presentation. We know the security declarations has been slightly eased, but again, some challenges there. And also the documentation. So it's okay that your freight forwarders doing and there's some very good ones out there. There's been some absolutely outstanding freight forwarders who have really looked after the customers. But one key thing we've certainly found with documentation for compliance, you know, trying to get that information has been difficult, and we'll talk about why it's so important to think about your compliance. Obviously, as I mentioned, the chief system and tariffs, it's been a real confusion for lots of UK businesses, not just UK, but also EU businesses. And I'll give you some ideas and some kind of help where really to now start doing your planning, particularly on your imports that start to arrive into the UK after the transition period, particularly with the REC system that's going to be introduced in Europe. And again, making sure that when you receive goods, the exposure to you is going to be minimum. And I think that's the key with tariffs, so we'll talk about that. There's no digital platform. And, you know, I do audits, as people know, I'm a compliance and audits, and I'll go into businesses, and the first thing I'll ask is, can I have a copy of your C88 or your SAD form? You know, and most people do not have this sort of information. It's normally held by the forwarder, and it's normally quite difficult to get hold of. You have to have that information from an audit purposes. If a customs officer came in to do a check, he would expect to see that within your file or within your digital system on your computer. He'd expect you to have all that. There's nobody does that apart from ClearNow, and again, we'll show you how ClearNow works. Again, wrong data. You know, one of the big challenges, and I've trained many people, and this is one of the things that people have really, it's been difficult because we're all in a panic mode trying to get our goods exported and imported. We're relying on our forwarder to do that. But also, if you think now of the forwarder, he's now had to train up many people to do a customs declaration that has never been really part of the UK, especially on exports into Europe. It's never been something we've had to think about. So suddenly having to have the experience and training people up has been a real challenge for many freight forwarders. And working with a particular freight forwarder, actually I was on a call with them today, and we was just doing some figures. I thought it'd be good to get the figures today when I was doing the talk. And just some examples. So in December this year, they're the biggest freight forwarder moving into Europe on groupage. And in December this year, or December last year, should I say, they did about 120 declarations. That's for Switzerland and markets outside the EU, but they're going through that. And in May this year, they did around about 20, just short of 20,000 declarations. This is one company, one freight forwarder, 20,000 declarations. On top of that, we worked out at least 4 to 5 documents that go with that. So we worked out that they're handling over 100,000 documents per month. It's a huge amount of documentation and huge resources, because we've had to train 55 new people up to be trained to be able to do a customs declaration. So you're putting the trust in somebody to do that. We know by pure, you know, myself, I've done lots and lots of declarations in my life, and especially on New Year's Day when I was helping a lot of forwarders. You know, mistakes happen. I put the wrong data. I put the wrong currency in. I did 10 to help a forwarder out on New Year's Day because we had trailers stuck, and I was putting sterling instead of euros, so I had to redo them all. So again, that's pure data information. This is where the ClearNow platform really does work, and it really solves a lot of the issues for you going forward. Next slide, please, Michelle.
Yeah, I'm trying to click through.
Is it not going?
Yeah, it's going.
Yeah, and today's just about some real hints. So obviously from an origin point, sorry, somebody's just shouting to me. Oh, I'll look at Joshua's and that.
Yeah. So yeah,
Oh, yeah, sorry. So rules are, it's typical, and it somebody jumps in just as you're trying to do a presentation. So rules of origin, again, this has been a real complex issue, and I'm sure Halton, I know Keely and the team have had many questions on this. And origin does play a critical role, particularly when you're exporting into the EU, making sure you've got the correct origin of your goods, because that determines the exposure to your importer, and vice versa. As goods come into the UK and enter in the UK, you know, as long as they've got an EU origin, it's more than likely you're going to have a zero duty. Now, if they haven't, and they've been putting on their invoices that it is an EU origin, you've got to be really clear with this, because these things will be checked, particularly going forward on the 1st of January. We'll need a REX number. So a REX number will be required from your exporters in Europe for goods coming into the UK. They'll have to have a REX number. And what a REX number is, it's a certain form of certificate of origin. If any of you have ever worked in the GSP countries, General Systems Preferences, you'll be used to how the REX system works. Well, that'll be introduced on the 1st of January from EU to the UK, and from the UK to the EU, we'll still be doing our statement on our invoices. But again, origin plays a critical role, and particularly from your compliance, because it's the exposure that creates. And one thing you don't want to do, and if I was giving anybody advice, I'm coming across this a lot, if you are importing goods from outside of the EU and then re-exporting them into the EU, you're going to have possible a double whammy there of duties and tax. So again, have a look at procedures that you can possibly use in inward processing, bonded warehouse, which really relieves a lot of them situations where you only get one hit of your duties or the exposure of the duty. And again, we'll talk about other areas as we go along. Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah. Incoterms.
Yeah, Incoterms, we hear a lot about Incoterms, and a lot of confusion with Incoterms. And to me, we should only use certain amounts of Incoterms. We should try and minimize Incoterms, but I understand the reasons when we don't. But I'll just go through some Incoterms that I find, you know, can be a real exposure to an exporter, and also from an import point of view, how you benefit in some areas and don't benefit in others. So obviously some key ones here, we've got CPT. So CPT, carriage paid to, it's quite used a lot in Europe, to be honest, CPT, particularly in the pharmaceutical industry. And what CPT is from an export point of view, carriage paid to, you'll pay for the carriage to the destination of the door to the customer. You'll do an export declaration. It'll be his responsibility to do his import declaration on the other side. But actually the risk of the goods, and this is where it's very important, actually passes as soon as he's loaded the vehicle in his yard. So even though he's paying for the transport, even though he's paying for everything to go to you, if the importer, actually the risk has already passed, because it passes as soon as he's left the yard. Now, if anything happens to them goods from an export, if you're exporting the goods, your risk is already passed to the importer. And if you're importing, the risk is already passed to you. Very similar to an FCA term. The only difference is the exporter is required to do the export declaration, same as FCA, but he has to pay for the freight. So again, be very careful with CPT if you are importing, because there's a lot of risk there involved. CIP is another one. If you're exporting under CIP, again, just be very careful of the risk involved with carriage insurance and paid. It's the maximum risk assessment on an insurance under Zone A, and it covers many, many things. So you'll be doing the carriage, you'll be delivering it to the premises, but you'll be taking out a full insurance policy under the CIP. If anything happens to them goods on the way to your importer, or there's any damages, there's any theft, there's anything, he'll be able to claim full insurance on your insurance policy, which is on full insurance. So again, just be very careful. I find with CIP as an Incoterms trainer, certain countries take big advantage of CIP, or they ask for CIP for many reasons. So again, just be very careful. If you're importing, it's a great term, because obviously your goods are insured all the way to the arrival to you or to the destination where you've agreed. So again, just be careful. CIP as an exporter, a lot of exposure. As an importer, there's a lot of protection there. DAP is the most common term used at the moment, delivered at place. And again, with delivered at place, it's your responsibility to load the goods, to do the export declaration, and deliver the goods to the agreed place in Europe or wherever it is around the world. If you're delivering into Europe, it'll be the responsibility of the importer to do his import declaration and clearance. And if you're importing on DAP, it'll be your responsibility to do the import declaration and pay any VAT and taxes that are due. Be careful with DAP if you are exporting around the world. certainly with COVID and certainly with lots of issues there with COVID, a lot of what we're finding with a lot of ports, they're closed because of COVID restrictions. Shenzhen at the moment has just been closed because of a big COVID outbreak. And you just imagine if you've agreed to your customer, you're going to deliver on DAP, under them terms, it's delivered at the place. Now, all of a sudden, if you're delivering there and the port's been shut for whatever reason, you've no control, and that's delivered 2,000-3,000 miles away or 1,000 miles away, it's still your responsibility, your cost to deliver them goods. So if you are doing container work under DAP, just be careful where you're agreeing to deliver it to. I would tend to always do port to port, you know, deliver to a port in wherever you're delivering to. That erases a lot of the issues, and it's the responsibility of the importer then to receive the goods or collect the goods from the port where it's gone to. So again, DAP is a great term. You know, you're taking control, you're taking the risk as an exporter, but be very careful when you go into places like the US, China, these kind of places where there's many ports, and there could be risk there when you've agreed to deliver it to the customer. DPU was the only Incoterm what was changed in 2000 from 2010, and really it's more for, I tend to say DPU is mainly used in machinery, and I see where the advantages of machinery were delivered, place, and load. It's the only Incoterm where it's the responsibility of the exporter to unload the goods themselves. So if you're delivering a big machine to a customer in Europe or anywhere around the world, it'll be your responsibility to actually unload the vehicle. And once the machine is on the deck of the floor, that's when the risk then passes to the importer. So if anything happens to that machine as it's been unloaded, the responsibility is still with the exporter under DPU. Again, under DPU, it's your responsibility to do the export declaration, and it's the importer's responsibility to do the import declaration and pay any duties and VAT. DDP, again, it has two areas. If you're importing under DDP, we used to say you won the lottery, because obviously you just received the goods and everything's happy days, because they're taking full responsibility. But I just want to go into a bit more detail with DDP. So under DDP as an exporter, you've agreed to deliver the goods to your customer and taking responsibility of the VAT and any duties that are applicable. And I fully understand why businesses have to do this. So, you know, I just want to make you fully aware of the implications that it can cause, and also some options that you can think about now. As for the last 6 months, I've been investigating this to find ways where we can take a bit of pressure off exporters when they're forced to do DDP. So DDP, you'll be the exporter, so you do your export declaration. You'd also do the import declaration because of the import record. You'd have to have a European EUR number. You'd also have to have a VAT number in that country you're delivering to, because when you deliver the goods, there's VATable. So there's a VAT in that country, depending on which country it goes into, depends on what the VAT may be. And there could be duties if the goods are not of a UK origin. So again, that puts huge resources on costing to a business that is exporting. There's not a lot of profit there, and it causes a lot of difficulties. Now, you could do this in a different way if you're forced down. You could set up an entity in France or in Germany or wherever, where you actually export to the entity. So you deliver it to you as the entity in France, and then once it's cleared in France and the duty and the VAT's paid, where you can claim it back, so obviously you've got your own entity there, you'll then get free circulation within Europe. Or you can maybe look at the regime 43, Article 23, that was used widely. Deloitte found a loophole in the system with Europa freight forwarder, but there's a couple now have also realised how to use DDP, and there's a company, freight forwarder, that I've been working with, again, who are doing regime 43. What it does under the smart system, it allows you to move your goods under DDP to the smart system in Calais. The smart system, what it does then, you become the importer, but you clear everything in Calais as if you're clearing everything in one spot, and then you're allowed to move your goods. There's no VAT applicable to anybody, because even though there's VAT, it's done on your Intrastats. And what will happen, your goods are then delivered to the door of your customers without any delays. And that's the loophole, and it works very well, very successfully. It's been approved by French customs and Belgium and Holland customs. And you can either use it for France or you can use it for Holland and Belgium. The one thing you can't do is if you've got goods DDP into France, you can't use the regime 43 in France. You've got to use the Article 23 and go through Belgium. So there's some slight difference there, but that's been a huge saving for a lot of businesses where they've not had the resources to set up or take the VAT, where it costs a lot of money. So the VAT never actually gets paid out. so you don't have a VAT bill of 23, 20, 21% there. So again, DDP is certainly worth investigating if you want to look at regimes for two. And again, I can send some information to Jen. There's only 2 folders, as Europa and Samarco doing that at the moment. So imports, obviously the challenge for importers, obviously, you know, making sure at the moment, one of the biggest issues we've got with imports is tenfold. We've got a problem where we've got a transition period on. We've got lots of things we're having to think about, but we're not quite sure what we need to do. And as an importer at the moment, it's been relatively quite smooth for goods entering the UK without real too much declarations having to be performed. And a lot of declarations that have been entering the UK have been coming under a supplementary declaration. Please check with your transport people who has been bringing this in for you. Are they doing it as a supplementary or a full declaration? If they're doing it as a supplementary declaration, you have a responsibility, I think, by the end of this month, where you've got to send to HMRC a full declaration of the goods that have entered the UK in the first 6 months of this year. Now, if the company's doing a full declaration, that's fine. Now, please remember, if you're importing from the EU, make sure that your customers are aware of the REX. They're going to have to be registered under the REX scheme. The REX system is a form of origin, so that proves that the goods meet the origin of the EU. So that means when you receive the goods in the UK, there'll be no duties applicable to you. And that's key. It's the exposure. You've got to make sure that there's not too much exposure. And again, having this conversation with your exporters in Europe is very important. Obviously, step 3, then, you know, goods shipped to the UK, coming through a strict border, which will be introduced on the 1st of October with any health certificates or phytosanitary certificates. So somebody who's bringing in a plant, for instance, for a garden centre, on the 1st of October, he'll have to do a phytosanitary certificate for every plant he brings in. If anybody's bringing any agri-food or anything like that into the UK from the 1st of October, they'll need to do a health certificate. We've already been doing that as an exporter, but we've had that transition for the imports. And as of the 1st of January, the UK will enter the strict border. So again, goods entering the UK, there'll be more checks on declarations, etc. And this is why thinking about how and who's going to be doing your declarations going forward is really, really important. Again, step 4, there'll be lots of checks there to make sure that all the documentation is correct and making sure it's all clean and it can enter the UK. And then obviously once that's all been passed, goods then can be delivered to the customer. Yeah. Do you want to add anything in there, Michelle? Do you want to carry on?
No, I'm going to go into the flow and in the
yeah, okay, I'll just be quick. Sorry, everybody. So this is, I just want to, so this is what we call a SAD form. It's SAD for many reasons, as we know, but we know a SAD form as a single administration document, or a C88. In the UK, it's widely known as a C88, and in Europe and Ireland, they know it as a SAD form. It's the same form, and this is what the form looks like. Now, in most cases, when you get a copy of this, it looks nothing like that. It normally comes in a number, it comes in a number order where it's just numbers, which confuses a lot of people. But again, this is the form that I was doing in 1988 as a freight forwarder, and we used to dread them. And it was like a boomerang banged me back on the head, because we're back to doing these again. We've not moved with the times. There's only one company, we think, or there's a few, but mainly one, as in Clay now, who've gone digital with this to make it a lot easier, but still it's data input. And again, very important information on there. The EUR numbers, the commodity codes, please check your commodity codes. It's only your responsibility as an exporter to be doing 8 digits. You don't have to do 10 digits when you're exporting. Your responsibility is 8 digits if you're doing DAP, not 10. You know, what you've got to always remember with 10 digits, when you're, if it's imports coming in the UK, the last 2 digits play a key role with any quotas, any anti-dumping, any of these key areas that it really specifically goes into the detail of that product into a country. If you're exporting using a 10-digit, there's no guarantee in the EU under the UCC that that is the code that should be used. So again, it's your responsibility as an exporter to be doing 8 digits. Again, your origin plays a critical role. If it is a UK origin, again, make sure if you are claiming UK origin, you've got all your letters, declaration letters to prove where your goods have come from, particularly if you're doing a lot of sourcing and then you're making the products and you're doing transformation. You've got to be able to prove that to somebody. It's very important that if a customs officer comes to do a check, he'll want to see that if you're claiming origin of UK, that you can prove how you've got to that level. So again, making sure you've got your long-term supplies declaration is critical. If you are buying from UK suppliers, you have to ask them what the origin of the product is. Very important. Again, your CPC code plays a key role. If you're exporting on general terms, it's 10,001. If you're importing, it's 4,001. If you're doing any special procedures, if you're doing inward process, it'd be 5100, and if you're doing special warehousing, body warehouse, it'd be 7100. What the CPC code, it determines at the border of what restriction it goes. Does it go in as VAT and duty payable, or does it go into suspense because it's under a special procedure? The CPC code is very, very important, and it's critical. So if you've got any special procedures, you must make sure your broker or your forwarder is aware of that. Otherwise, you're going to be paying duty and VAT on products coming in, and that will cause no ends of problems trying to readjust it, because that's the whole point of having special procedures. Again, if you're doing it inward processing, again, making sure they're using the 5100 code, it's very important. Again, your commercial documents, make sure you've got all the documents. You've got health certificates, they'll have to go in box 44. There's 54 data boxes on a C88. As an exporter, there's probably about 15 key boxes there. As an importer, there's probably 20 plus key boxes. Without that information in there, your goods will not be able to go anywhere. And that's why we're seeing a lot of delays. It's not because there's a problem with the vehicle or anything. It's normally to do with the declaration. It's not been filled in correctly. There's data input been put in wrong. The wrong commodity codes have been put in. The wrong CPC codes have been put in. Has a huge effect. And again, your Incoterms. And what your Incoterms does, it determines you as an exporter whether you are responsible to do the declaration or whether it's the responsibility of your importer. Please, if you're an exporter, if you're doing Ex Works, just be very careful with Ex Works. It can cause many issues, particularly from a compliance and a customs when they're checking, because you have no proof of them goods leaving unless you can get a copy of the C88 from your import. And also, if you are doing Ex Works and your importer's collecting the goods, make sure he's got a UK EOR number. Without that, he can't do an export declaration in the UK. So again, very important to understand the different terms that are out there. Thanks, Michelle. Again, when you're importing, it's very important to understand the cost involved. Your landing costs, your payable of your duties on your. Always have a look at your commodity costs. Should be checked once a year. You should check them really as a fine-tooth comb, because you want to have a look on your duty on your commodity costs. If it's your supplier giving you that, you want to check it, because you want to make sure that there's no exposure to you as an importer. And also, if you're exporting, it's the same thing. So again, as exporting, you don't want the exposure on your imports, because if he's paying any duties that he shouldn't be paying, there's always that possibility he could decide to go and buy it from somewhere else. And we don't want that, particularly here in the UK. Origin, obviously, you're under a free trade agreement. And again, Origin plays a critical role, not just in a free trade agreement or an FTA, as we call them. It plays an important role as a UK exporter, because with a UK origin, it has a lot of meat about it. A lot of people in countries around the world have delivered courses, as Jane knows, in Qatar, Nigeria, Switzerland. They like the thought of a UK origin product. So again, plays a critical role. Again, making sure you've got your CIF costs in there, your carriage, insurance and freight. So I put the teeth back in, carriage, insurance and freight. And again, making sure that all the calculations of the duty are correct on the C88, and that's normally from a commercial invoice. So again, making sure you've got the correct commercial invoice. Again, your CPC plays a critical role, because that determines, as an importer, does it come under suspense, or does it come in and you pay the duty and VAT under your deferred account? Or again, think of your postponed VAT. If anybody here has not got postponed VAT in place and they want it, you can apply for it. It's pretty straightforward to do, and that will relieve any VAT that's got to be paid, or some people prefer to pay it under the deferred account. But again, it's a choice of an importer. And again, the documents needed to do your standard operations procedures and compliance. That's what a customs officer is looking for. What we'll talk about clear now is actually a lot of this is actually visible to you every day, which is very unique. And I'll pass you over to Michelle.
Yeah, no, so thank you, Richard. So obviously, customs clearance has a lot of multiple partners across the supply chain, and a lot of different parties that everything needs to run smoothly for the customs for the goods to cross over the border successfully. Now, what you usually tend to see is 30 plus emails in a chain to try to retrieve documentation, to know the status of where your goods are at, understanding if your goods have been cleared, if you can schedule the departure or the packing of the goods, et cetera, et cetera. So what we try to do is kind of grasp all of these different inefficient processes and bring it into one seamless process. So avoiding silent customs clearance, avoiding unnecessary fees and tax calculation errors, which, you know, having the right commodity code, as Richard mentions, does impact your bottom line. It impacts the amount of duties and taxes you will be charged. And not having a document management tool impacts your compliance. If you have an audit from HMRC 7 years from now, can you for sure retrieve and have all of those C88s, E2s, and X2s handy for your record keeping at the at the click of a button? With ClearNow, you can't. Do you have the visibility of all of your goods at all point in time? If you don't, then, you know, there are ways to get this to get this visibility. So these are some of the things that we try to alleviate for you as an importer and exporter. And how we do that. So you might recognize the current state, which is very manual. I mean, this is just kind of taking it to the opposite end, right? But having to print out or to when you receive an email with a commercial invoice, a packing list, and a CMR or a bill of lading, and you're supposed to enter it to clear customs. What brokers are doing today is they open up the documentation, they manually key it in, they look at it again, and that's if they look at it in time before it actually incurs demurrage to your freight. Now, what happens with us is you get an account, you automatically send the documentation, and it automatically prompts the job, just like an Uber would, and starts a customs clearance process. And it will all be available top of your fingers, click of a button. So we will have the single data source across all partners. It is haulier agnostic, so you could use any carrier you'd like. That gives you that diversification of risk. So you're not at one haulier's mercy. If you want to use several carriers, depending on their expertise on certain lanes, you can do that. And you can clear customs and have everything on the platform. You know, this will increase the productivity of several parties within your teams. The accounts departments, the finance departments can have access to all of your commercial invoices, etc., by logging into the system. Your sales teams as well can know where the goods are at. If somebody's on holiday, no problem. You can just access the platform and see what's going on. Etc. You'll have the customer success team supporting you with any questions you might have, alongside obviously the Halton team that's always there to answer any questions. And just having that single data source across all parties is really a key differentiator. We have the badges across all ports, seaports and RoRo ports across the UK, airports to come, which is also a key differentiator. And then that document management tool, which is key. So these are just a couple of, you know, trader tips, just going back to basics. I know a lot of you are very experienced traders, so I don't know if I need to get very deep into this, but, you know, just making sure that some of these are checked is very important, right? So making sure that you have your procedures in place, that you have the whole flow set up in a way where it doesn't impact your VATs or your supply chain. Making sure that you have that you're trading under the correct Incoterms, so that, you know, in essence, your business doesn't suffer. And then let me just go into the video. If anyone has any questions, we'll address them real short. Just a couple more slides.
Welcome to ClearNow. Today, I will walk you through a quick demo of our product. Let's get started. Each shipment on our web-based platform is created and begins when ClearNow is copied on the email from the manufacturer to the importer containing the bill of lading, commercial invoice, and packing list documents for your shipment. From that information, our proprietary software uses AI data processing techniques, extracts all your critical data in the documents in seconds, converts it to searchable PDFs, and sends it automatically, when ready, to the ClearNow customer dashboard. And so the tracking journey begins. The customer dashboard provides end-to-end visibility for all your shipments. On the left side is a summary list for all shipments. By clicking on one of these, customers can view all major events that this shipment has gone through and see all documents associated with the shipment. Customers can review all the documents related to each shipment, have real-time visibility with actual ETAs, have a transparent view when a shipment clears customs, and communicate directly with the customs agent if needed. Once the shipment is loaded on a truck to its final destination, its status will change in our system to a truck route. The customer will then have final mile visibility on each shipment and the ability to chat with the driver. If the shipment is just on a lorry coming in from Europe instead of via air or ocean or rail, then the same process will apply with full visibility. ClearNow is efficient, accurate, and transparent, offering one flat fee per transaction. There is zero IT integration, zero upfront cost, and no contracts. Just sign up and go. Give ClearNow the opportunity to transform your logistics process today.
I hope everyone can hear that.
Yeah,
Yeah, you heard it. Great. So I'll just kind of walk through the slide on how we fit into the process, and then I'll actually dive into the actual demo so I can show you in person what that looks like. But just to give you kind of a flavor. So we talked about the importance of documentation, having the right process flow, and where does ClearNow fit into this whole thing, right? Because you might have hauliers that are doing the clearances for you today, or other arrangements, which is completely fine. But how do you intertwine and use the ClearNow Halton Chamber solution to simplify your customs clearance declarations for exporting or importing today? Well, this is how you would do it. So you would schedule your pickup or pack your goods as you would. First, you would sign up to get an account, and you'd have to just agree with the price per clearance, which the Halton team can walk through and give you that information. A letter of direct representation, which you would have with any customs agent today, giving it the authority to clear on your behalf, and then those would be the two main things to get you going. Now, as soon as you would have those, you would get a ClearNow specific email to start clearing the goods that would then get uploaded to the platform. You would schedule a pickup for the next clearance job, send a commercial invoice, packing list, and a CMR or bill of lading if it's going via sea freight. And if it's, in this case, an import, but it would be the same for an export, you would send them through. As soon as we received that email, it would process, prompt the clearance job, and automatically populate the broker fields and be uploaded to the platform. Now, as soon as the job gets received, it gets assigned to one of the agents or brokers on the job, and they would proceed to clear it. Now, on an export side, that would be cleared with a C88, an MRN, and a barcode, and an X2, which is the response we received back from Chief saying that the job has been done, which you would then send on to the haulier for them to cross the border and then do the import clearance on the other side to successfully clear customs. On an import side, you would receive a need to and a C89, which is the value buildup. And Richard can walk you through the importance of having those from an audit perspective. If a tax officer comes and does that audit, we save those documents on the cloud for 7 years in case of those audits to retrieve completed shipments. Everything is hosted on Amazon Web Services for anyone who's very techy, and hosted here in the UK. So for GDPR purposes, that data is not going anywhere and it belongs to you as a company only. You would have the track and trace. So especially for sea freight, you'd be able to see the location of the ship vessel as it's approaching the port, or that's mainly for imports. For exports, unless we're doing the other end, you wouldn't be able to see the vessel go through, but we would be able to quickly file that export declaration on your behalf. So just those are some key points, right? The document digitalization portion, which is that ingestion of big entries. So if you have a lot of commodity codes, a lot of items that you need clearance through, having that ingestion piece to automatically do it and just having that review really speeds up the clearance and also ensures that it's done correctly. Now, if I'm just going to escape from this, because I'm actually going to take you to the platform, which I hope is okay. And this is what that would look like. So This would be a live view, an example of the platform. So as soon as we receive an email with a job, it would create one. Yeah?
I'll say that, Michelle. If you come out of that, you have to come out of that and then start again.
Okay, well, hold on.
Just the way Zoom works. So just come out, stop, and then go back.
Okay, sorry about that.
Right.
Thank you for letting me know. I was like talking to myself. So this
Yeah, it's all right. We're used to that, Michelle, don't worry.
If anyone has any questions, please feel free to stop me. So you would receive one new shipment, and then as soon as that's when the email's received, right? So you would see in a minute or so, you would see on your side one new shipment here. That means it's been received. It's going to be reviewed. If any information is missing to clear customs, you would know instantaneously within a couple of minutes that something's missing, say port of crossing, transport details, whatever the case may be, right? Incoterms are missing, freight charges that we require, that are required to file a customs entry, that would be known. As soon as we have most of the information, it would go through a card, which is a customs card, and those status will go from received to pending filing to accepted and released, which are the different kind of status updates. Now you would be able to have on the system, you would have your unique identifier as a job. So purchase order, it could be, whatever number you identify a shipment with on the commercial side, commercial invoice side, we can adjust accordingly. And then on our side, it would be identified as a KX shipment to make sure that you're talking about the same job. There's no duplication of jobs, etc. You would then go through the motions. They would assign one of the brokers. It would be pre-lodged and then released. And then this is the beauty that, I know Richard gets all giddy about, is getting that documentation when he does an audit, right, Richard? Yes. Having that commercial invoice at your fingertips, because this now is digital data. So what you send through in an email, it automatically first prompted the job with that ingestion piece, but also created a digital scan of your documentation alongside receiving back from the customs authorities that CATA is filing customs. So it has that triple kind of effect and forte that is unique to the space. And, and we are very much revolutionizing this customs clearance space with this technology.
Can I just explain this, Michelle?
Yeah, go for it.
So from just for everybody's here today, from now the UK has obviously entered a new customs world where everything we do will be checked and obviously audited when you do get a customs check. The beauty about the Clear Now is actually everything what we talk about, where you have to keep documents, you have to keep your packing list, your commercial invoice, your bill of lading, or your C88, your E2, that is never ever given by most brokers. C89 is never given by you've got all that at your fingertips. So if an auditor comes in, you can actually go on the platform and everything's visible in one step. You could just go through that, check it. What this system's going to do in the next few months, which is even more exciting, it's going to do a lot more compliance reporting, where you'll actually be able to go into this system and say, how many times have I sent this commodity code to this place? In the background, it'll be able to do all that sort of reporting systems within there. So this is where the beauty of Clear Now, in the background, it's doing a lot of information where you've actually got on the platform. Whereas at the moment, you have to keep all that in files on your systems, it's all there. This is all visible. Anybody can walk in and you can actually upload that information, send it straight to a customs officer if you want to check it. That's where the real benefit of Clear Now I see far superior to anything else what's out there, because everything's together. It's all visible to you. Anybody can check that, or anybody in the office, sales guys, ops guys, anybody can go and check that information. It's all there.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bill.
No, you're fine. And then, yeah, so you can extract this to an Excel. This is a clear view, as we call it, which is our data analytics kind of tool that as you do the clearances and push through the jobs, you'll have that data. And this is just going to get smarter as we go through it. So as we start syncing it to the ports, you'll have the port visibility as well, linked into that, the port systems, where it really gives you the detail of grounded ready for pickup, as well as just the customs clearance side, which we do have enabled in the US, but we're starting to do port by port now in the UK. So those are just some added benefits alongside just being able to extract an Excel spreadsheet of the data of the clearances you've done at any point in time. And then the HS code identifier or other values, how many duties and taxes you've paid for the year, how many, clearances jobs you've done, it's all going to be there, which haulier you've used, more than the other one. All data that's good to have, but you currently probably don't have because it just is there, but nobody's extracting that data. So we just kind of give that, added visibility. Anywho, so just real quick, we have all that information in here, and it's handy for your records. So let me just go back, and I think we're kind of pretty much probably ready to go for questions and answers. I don't think I have a lot more to add. We just go through. Yeah, it's a good thing. Richard's keeping ahead of time here.
Yeah, I always notice everybody, we do go on with ourselves.
Yeah, so I think just let's just go on to questions and answers, because I think that's the exciting part of the conversation.
Jane, have you got any questions or anything, Jane?
Yeah, we've had one question come through in the chat while we've been going on. So it was from John. He says, Richard, can you share further information about the clearing via Calais?
Yeah, so Johnny, you talk about the regime 43. Yeah, there's, the regime 43 will allow a lot of businesses. This only works, John, on the DDP terms where it's delivered duty paid. A lot of, with your Santander clients, a lot of issues where there's a lot of promises there and there's a lot of duties and exposure there where they're having to set up entities, etc. That will take that away. It only works though, John, for B2B. It doesn't quite work for B2C at the moment. I found a solution for B2C in Belgium. I'm just kind of working on that at the moment. But where the regime 43, what it happens is that you literally, as your goods move into France, you set up within the system. You set up in France, you clear it as if it's you clear it. You don't physically pay the VAT. It just kind of sits there. And it allows them goods then, once they're released, to then release into an open market of 26 or 27 member states where there's no documentation or anything required for them because you've already cleared the goods, you've got free circulation. That's how it works. So for the end user, the customer, it stops. Where is the benefit for them? What a lot of customers are finding in Europe is that they're having to pay the VAT or they're having to do other things, and that's delaying a lot of the shipments. This will allow the goods to be delivered to the door without any delays. We're certainly finding in Germany at the moment between 24 and 48 hours for clearances to be done. This takes away a lot of that. And also for the customer, from a DDP purposes, what it does, John, more than anything, it allows them to service the customers, but without having the burden of high VAT. Obviously, they'll have duty, and how the duty works is that the duty is then just sent back to the exporter, so he'll just pay the forwarder, either Europro or Samarco, the duty. You just get an invoice for that. It's no more expensive. Clear now involved in this with possibly with Samarco, so it's Clear now can still be involved in the export side. On the other side, that's where the importer can be done by the forwarder. So again, and it's not expensive. It works quite well. But if anybody wants, I can send some details on that to Jane, who can share that on by an email or somebody. It's certainly something I've been looking at. It certainly works. I'll send you one separately, John, because obviously I've got your email address, and I'll send it over to you.
Yes, no, thank you, Richard. I mean, the reason for the question, as much as anything, is that we're getting an influx of businesses that are seeking to set up in the EU somewhere. Yeah. And to get banking and to set up in the EU somewhere is not an easy task. And they think they're doing it that way for this purpose primarily.
Yeah, I agree. What I would say to everybody on here, because obviously I've spent a bit of time on this, and with Santander, actually, it's going to go on the website, John.
Is it right? Okay.
Yeah. And what we're certainly finding, as John said, it's all the setup and all the other costs associated. A lot of people were advised to do branches in Europe, and what I'm finding with branches under DDP, it doesn't quite work under UCC law, because the importer record doesn't tend to be, it tends to be the person in the UK. It causes a lot of confusion for importers of the customs in Spain, Italy, etc., because they can't kind of work out where is there any clearance been done. It causes a lot of delays. So yeah, regime. So yeah, I'll send that to you, Jen. I'm happy to send that over to you, and John. Yeah, I'll send it over to you as well, John.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll share the slides after the session as well, so everyone can look back on those if they want. Yeah. Does anyone else have any questions or on customs, compliance, or anything else? Oh, Sarah, you've got your hand up there.
It's just a comment really that Richard made before in his presentation about commodity codes. did you say they are 8 or 10? Because what's been happening, we ship on 8-digit codes, but depending on which country we're shipping to, they've asked for a 10.
Yeah, and it's really annoying. So
Is that just being awkward, or is it just you just got to learn which country?
Yeah, what's happening so with that, as an exporter under customs, you are responsible to do 8 digits, and it's a responsibility. But yes, I understand a lot of customers. What I would say, so in that instance, because I've said this to people, and I'm in business myself, and then if your customer wants 10, they want 10, they don't care. What I would say is maybe on your operations procedures manual, what you do is maybe just list the certain customers who want 10 if you want to keep that after. But reality is, it's not your responsibility. 8 digits is your responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, it's certain countries, like I think it's France, Belgium, I think Republic of Ireland, but other countries are absolutely fine on an 8. So it's just it's annoying, but it's just been a bit of a learning curve.
Yeah, and what might be worth, do you know how to use the turret system, sir?
No, it's over my head.
So it's like,
I wouldn't want to get too involved with it, because
no, it's very
you know what I mean?
It's very straightforward, and I think we're doing it next when we're doing a customs training.
Right.
And
Okay.
we actually show you how to use type, so you can actually check it. It takes 2 minutes. You can just pass, you can have that. Because what it does for you, sir, under the tariff, it actually shows you whether the 10 digits you think it is, because they're telling you to do it.
Yeah.
Correct, because it could have a bearing where it reduces the duty or whatever it does. At least it's worth just checking yourself so you can see what the exposure is. So at least you know you're doing everything from a compliance point. But at the end of the day, as long as you do your bit as an exporter, that's your only responsibility, sir.
Okay. No, that's fine. Thanks for clarifying that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else got anything they'd like to ask? Make the most of Richard and Michelle while they're here to answer any questions.
I've got one.
Don't mind.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Who wants to go first?
You
go ahead.
Someone else. Okay. Mine's unrelated to your product and stuff, and maybe anybody else can answer my question as well. But we've got a sister company out in South Africa. They want to send corporate gifts to us as a thank you for sending the work out there and setting up things. I think they want to send us wine, and that's going to present a problem in importing and clearing a free of charge wine alcohol gift. Is there any way around it, or is there or what do we need to do in order to do it?
Yeah, so on that, Tim, the challenge you have, it'll be alcohol duty, or the duty because it's alcohol.
Yeah.
So they'll send it over to you as an export as a kind of free of charge, or however they'll minimise the cost.
Yeah.
What they should do is put the full value, and then from a customs purposes, it's a small value, because the argument is when it's a free gift, well, you're actually using it, you're not destroying it. You are destroying it in your belly. But you know what I mean? So it's a difficult one, but you will have alcohol duties on that, which can be actually quite expensive. So just be careful of that, Tim.
Do I need to talk to a clearing agent that has an alcohol license or something?
No. As long as you've got clear details on the invoice, they should be able to do their side, and Clear now should be able to do the import side for you on this side. But there will be duties on that. That's all.
So I can talk to you about clearing it for us.
Yeah. Well, Jane. Yeah.
All right, Jane. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, our team don't like, it's quite funny actually, because I do the training and I sparked on about, oh yeah, duty and all that, and then I got a customer form and said, can you just go through it with me? And I'm like, Jesus. But yeah, they're challenging, but yeah, they can do that, no problem, Tim.
Okay, right, I'll talk to you then. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll talk to Jane.
Yeah, talk to you.
We'll set up a meeting so we get you all set up and go through everything in a bit more detail and what we need to do to get moving.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, cheers, Tim. I think, was it Steve?
I have another question.
Yep. Mine just follows on from Sarah, but the opposite way round, really. One of our plants is in Finland, and we have 8-digit commodity codes as standard over there, and we're being told to bring stuff to my customers here in the UK. We need to provide a 10-digit code.
Yeah.
Is that actually the case?
It is, yes, Stephen. And the good thing for you is if you look on the global tariff, it automatically reverts to 10 digits. So if you put your first 8 digits in the system, it should find now, well, it should find, it may not. And this is where you need to just check what the description of your product is. So as you're describing that product. Now, in some cases, it was 00. But in a lot of other cases, it could be determined by 6 or 7 different 2 digits. So again, it's understanding your product, Stephen. And like I said, we are doing a few courses on that to show people how to. Once you know how to do it, it's dead easy. But it's that kind of. But it is your responsibility to have 10 digits in the UK, Steve.
Right. Okay.
System will accept 8, by the way, in the UK. It'll have to be 10.
Cheers.
Okay, mate.
No, then we have one in the chat.
Yeah, we've got a question come through in the chat from Anik, asking about how to import items for repair from the EU. So is it possible to do as a temporary import?
It is, but I get this all the time, Anik, and from a customs point, I get a little bit frustrated on this because the buzzwords are around at the moment: temporary import, temporary this. The thing you've got to look at is your exposure on your commodity code. You've got to see if it's an EU product coming back to you or you've sent it out and there's no duty. You've got to work out the amount of work that's involved to have a special procedure. Does it outweigh the work involved to actually, the only thing that's going to cost you is VAT? Now, if it's a temporary import coming in, because it's a repair, they should have it under the new trade CCA agreements. What they should do is they should send the goods back with the full value of what the product is for insurance purposes, and then list that it's the repair and a customs value of a certain amount, which would be a low amount. You then can have a look at it to see, well, you know what your commodity code is. Have a look at what that exposure is to you. If it's third country 0, we'll just bring it in as a normal 4,000, and then you will have VAT, but obviously you can postpone that anyway. And then when you resend it back out, and when you repair it, you can do it 2 ways. You can tell the forwarder or to clear now that it's a return, but obviously there's no exposure because there's no duty. You can put, again, the value of the product of when you repaired it and what it's going out, because obviously if anything disappears on the product, you've got to make sure on the commercial invoice there's a value on there. But then very clear on your invoice, you should have 2 things. You should have the return number on your invoice. So if it's a C88 coming in, you should have the MRN number on there. The actual product code, if it's got a product code on there. And then when you send it out, you have it for customs value purposes of a minimum of £10–15. But because the customs officer's got all them details on it, that's the easiest way to import and export under repair. But again, have a look. Now, if there is an exposure with 5–6% duty on it, have a look at doing inward processing. But again, you've got to apply it. You can do 3 a year under the bill of discharge 3. But if you're going to be doing more than that, then you'll have to do the bill of discharge 1. Again, we have got courses on this. And again, the bill of discharge 1 allows you to do as many as you want within a year. And what happens under the IP, there's no duty and VAT applicable on the goods arriving. And under OP, as you send the goods back, there's no VAT and duty applicable to your customer. So again, it just depends on the exposure on your commodity codes.
Yep, so then Vicky has asked, it was mentioned that the system includes all badges for ports. Does the cost include clearance for all UK ports badges, or do you have to pay separate for badges, and what is the cost of the system?
No, go on, do you want to that, Michelle?
I was going to say it's a linked question, right? So on the port badges, the price per clearance that Jane would give you from a clearance perspective includes the badges and everything in there and the service. So it's the actual clearance price. For that price, it includes the access and unlimited access to the software, the clear view, the documentation, the tracking. All of that is included in the price per clearance, which Jane they have a special price, the Halton Chamber, so they can listen to that. But yeah, it's all included. Yeah,
so it's going to be with for chamber members, it's going to be 60 for an import and 40 for an export. But if you want any more information about that, we can go through everything and send you the full price list. Paul has asked, you mentioned that you offer training. What kind of training courses do you provide? So recently we've had Incoterms, we've had understanding importing, understanding exporting, customs compliance, commodity codes. I think there's a few more as well, but we've put them on in partnership with Richard. So if there's any sort of training that you're looking for, please do let us know and we'll do our best to put them on for you. But we're going to be announcing the dates for sort of the second half of the year after summer very soon.
Yeah, I think they can be, and under that SME fund, Jen, I think that we cover 4 courses, I believe.
Yeah.
4 courses included in that, not free, but
funded.
Yeah, funded, yeah. I know. I had to think then when I said free, don't mention free to anybody. Yes.
But if you'd like any more though as well, there is the Liverpool City region funding if you are based in the area. And there is some eligibility criteria around that, but if you're interested, I can send you a link to apply for that as well.
Yeah, and also on that, you can have part of the SME funding, you can have your own business bespoke training through the chamber. So we can actually do it bespoke and design the course just for your business. So your commodities, origins, however you want the course designed for your business, how it affects your imports, exports. We can do that as well. That's part of the SME funding. So you can either come to a course or you can have your own bespoke training, which we can provide for you as well.
Yeah, no, it's all right. We're quite flexible and just trying to help you really with whatever it is that your business needs. But if there's any particular training that you're looking for, please do let us know. We'll do our best to put it on for you.
Yeah.
So then Bill's asked, what is the VAT threshold on exports to the EU?
Oh God, I think it's changed. I think it's it used to be, because obviously it was 0 VAT. I'll check that out, Jane, because it's just changed, and I'll come back to you. It's just changed.
Okay, that's all good.
Yeah.
I can share it around afterwards and let Bill know as well.
Yeah.
And then Vicky's just said thank you.
Yeah, no problem, Vicky.
Has anyone else got anything, or please feel free to unmute yourself or post it in the chat if you'd like us to read it out for you.
I think I'll just say something that I didn't mention on the presentation, which is the actual setup for this. So if you are interested in signing up and giving it a go, you know, by talking to Jane and just filling out the LDR, you would be set up and could be clearing in a matter of a few minutes, right? So it is very quick. It's not something that's lengthy or you need to dread in the sense that it's a big process that needs to take place. It's just if you're happy with that, then you just sign an LDR and the terms, and you can send some stuff over for clearance and give it a go.
Definitely let us know if you'd like to sign up. We can send you over the templates and the declarations and stuff that you need to complete.
Yeah, and I'll say on that, I mean, it's free. I'll just give it a go. I mean, I think it's when I did, and I'll just quickly say, I did 2 audits last week. I did an audit which was a nightmare because nobody knew what C88 was on a sad phone, which was a nightmare trying to get it off the Irish forwarder who just refused to give it us, and I needed that to check. And then I did another one, which pleased Michelle. I did one that was using Clear Now, and it was just so easy. It was just so everything was there. It took me half the time because I had everything I needed. I didn't need to go through files upon files because it was just all on the platform, nice and clean. And that's what's good about Clear Now. It's nothing different. It's technology. It does the same as what a customs clear, but what it does, it's everything it does in the background from a compliance that saves you a lot of time. We haven't got time. We're all busy. We've had struggles with COVID and everything else. What this platform does, it reduces a lot of that and a lot of headaches for you. And as long as once you get used to using it, you can really take advantage of it as well.
Yeah. So hopefully we can get you guys and ladies going, and yeah, give it a go.
Definitely. Let us know. I can't see any more questions coming through in the chat, but if people do have anything that they think about afterwards, just send me an email and we can get you some answers for you as well.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks, Jen. I'm going to have to leave you in a minute because I'm doing a fish webinar.
Oh, sounds fun.
Live fish for an hour, that should be fun.
No, but thank you very much for joining us, everyone, and to Richard and Michelle for sharing all of your knowledge and info on the platform.
Yeah, thanks,
hopefully we'll see you all soon.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Cheers, bye.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.